when I read it for the first time in the script, I was like, did he really do all this at this age? And sure enough, he did.
You do not want to start a war.
What do? We fight!
Hello, everybody. I'm Nikki Novak, and welcome to Fandango's big ticket interview for young Washington. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Fandango.
Yeah.
We love Fandango.
So do I. I'm there every day.
Just to kick things off, talking about this movie, I thought we would start out. We're on the precipice of America's 250th anniversary. So I want to know from each of you, what is your favorite place in America?
There are several. I mean, honestly, there's some places in New Jersey that are breathtaking. I was there yesterday at Navasink River. It's magnificent. It's sort of in the heart of Revolution country as well. There's some statues and stuff like that sort of commemorate the Revolutionary War. So there's a real old link up in New Jersey. It was the third state to join the Union. I've loved so many places in America. I think that's part of why it's got this rich culture I think the land has a lot to do with why we are here, why America exists, because it's so magnificent. And it's not for sissies, America. You know, it's rugged, it's tough, it asks a lot of the people that want to try to conquer it and be part of it. It's a relationship with the land and the men and the women and the growth that comes from a place that's just surging with vitality. I love this country for
I love that you just came up with your own monologue for what makes America great.
Well,
that was fantastic.
I can do that a lot. I'm a real flag-waving guy.
What about you, William?
I'd say I'm pretty simple answer, to be honest. I love big cities, so I do love New York, and we're here right now. I do love LA as well, but we were just talking about earlier, it's a big driving city, and I just love New York. I feel like there's similarities towards London in a way. I live in London as well, so yes. New York would be my favorite.
America is vast. Well, they say in Europe, 100 miles is a long way. America, 100 years is a long time, and that's probably so. America is this vast country, and I've had the privilege of traveling a lot. So trying to answer that question, I mean, my cliche answer would probably be Disneyland. I hate to say it.
I like that.
Although,
I agree with that.
I just get inspired every time Disney's office is above the fire anyway, I digress.
That is pretty great, actually.
I just love Disneyland. But I will say that this journey did start for me in New York, this movie, because I couldn't get into Hamilton, and I raged against it by reading 30 books or something. So I do love New York as well, and Washington kind of started here. So
these are great answers. I was the one person that was late for seeing Hamilton. You never want to do that. I'm going to move on. It wasn't my fault that I was late, but I did see the original cast, and it was incredible.
Oh man, I never saw the original.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Talk about amazing. I loved this movie. I felt like it was very accessible, and it was a time, and we spoke before about this, it was a time that not a lot of people know. There's a lot of documented history of George Washington, films about him. Who is he at this time that we meet him in this film? And I loved that you didn't play him for the future self. I think you talked when we spoke before about this was sort of the potential, the birth of his potential.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly that. This is the birth of his, I suppose, determination, really, throughout the film. And so we meet him as a young man, a young boy, actually, to begin with. And he doesn't really know what he wants in the world, but he knows and he aspires to be like his brother. And so I think he's always chasing that. And from a young age, I think he was born with that mentality. And I think throughout the film, we find this. But really, as I said before, he's just a young man figuring out where he wants to go in life and navigating, I suppose, those decisions along the way. But yeah, I think the ambition you see in him from the start, and I think that's what this film captures quite well.
You do see the ambition, and you see that lives and careers are made brick by brick. And you're seeing the birth of that ambition. You play Lord Fairfax, and you give Washington his first big break.
Big assignment.
Big assignment.
That's true.
That maybe he should, there was a lot of class difference that played into who somebody could become. What do you think made Lord Fairfax, who was sort of inherited land and inherited his position, give this young man a chance?
Well, I think the attraction of ambition. Men of great accomplishment tend to recognize it in other people, in the younger people around them, and they either try to sabotage it or encourage it. And I think in this case, he recognized himself in him and said, "Well, go."
But it's interesting that he wasn't intimidated by it, because some people could be intimidated by it and try to squash it.
Sure. Well,
right?
obviously, at least the way we've got Fairfax going, it's he's a man of ambition himself, and it's something he likes. you know, this young man snuck into the ball. He thinks, oh,
Yeah, he sees it in
well,
George.
all right,
Yeah, definitely.
game on, go find your fortune. You know, most people of great accomplishment do applaud it in others. It's kind of what we do. We look at our own good fortune as an obligation to make sure somebody else has the same. You know, and it doesn't always work out, but you know, you've got to give them the nod. You got to say, go get them. I know how I did it, but you go do it. You go figure out your way. And that's a wonderful thing. We have to pass that on to the next generation.
I always find that the stars that I interview that have been doing it the longest, that are the biggest stars, are the kindest.
Usually, some measure of kindness
Yeah.
is what you finally find is behind accomplishment.
Yes.
Well said.
What an undertaking as a director.
It has been, yeah.
Why this time in his life? What intrigued you about that? Because you also wrote the script.
Yeah. I co-wrote the script. We have an amazing team of people that worked very hard over a very long time to make the movie. And for me, I kind of keep it as simple as I get obsessed with a story. If that story is meaningful and life-changing to me, I just want to give it to an audience. And I couldn't get into Hamilton 10 years ago because the tickets were for the original cast because the tickets were so expensive. So I started, instead, I was like, I'll rage against this injustice by reading a ton of books, and which I did, and I got enthralled with the story of the American Revolution and the magic of it and the unlikely nature that it worked at all. And I felt a sense of awe and wonder and stewardship and gratitude as I learned the story. Above all, Washington stood out to me, and I love the quest of finding the character underneath the myth. And with these kind of mythic figures, I love to understand, like, how were they forged? And so often you find they're forged in, like, adventure and risk and failure and hardship. And so there was this great rite of passage hero's journey in the wilderness that not many people knew about Washington, but it did, in my opinion, forge his character. So everything that he was able to endure and accomplish later on, in my opinion, was forged in this crucible of this story that people didn't know. And I love a good hero's journey. And so I've wanted to tell a story for a decade, you know, and so some dreams do come true. And I hope the audience loves the film. The fact that it's coming out on our 250th anniversary, which I have no idea how to say that. It's semi-quincentennial. Some you know,
Semi-quincentennial.
Semi-quincentennial. There you go. Thank you. I'm not going to try again. The 250, as we would say in the South. I'm just so grateful that the movie's coming out on this date. We focus a lot, Wonder Studio, about stories that restore faith in things worth believing in. And so America, while imperfect, an imperfect quest, is worth believing in, we're celebrating. And I hope that this movie can be one of those things that allows us to celebrate our country together and its first founder.
As soon as I finished watching this movie, I went down a deep dive into learning as much as I could.
That
And
is
I
so
think
great.
that's such a brilliant thing, especially when you're doing something about somebody's life. You don't want people to walk away and be uninterested or feel like they've seen the whole story. But why was this your young man? Why was he the
He
person
earned
who you
it.
chose?
He earned the role. I mean, we looked at hundreds of people, and I love finding kind of a diamond in the rough in the form of a lead, and then I'm so grateful for Kelsey and Kingsley and so many others like surrounding him. But we auditioned hundreds of people in the role, and it was a multi-step journey where William obviously won. And I think there was something about that you mentioned about Fairfax had to recognize something profound in Washington. And so we wanted that in the lead, and some sort of a character, or grit, or determination, or presence, or something, gravitas, I guess. And that's what William brought, and he crushed it, and he really carries the film. And many, we were all supporting him in that effort. But I'm very proud of his performance in the movie.
Very sweet, very, very sweet.
It's very true, though, and you had to wear a lot of hats, pun intended, holes
Indeed,
in them, and
indeed.
holes before he had the holes in them. Yeah. But for you, I mean, it sort of ends on that epic battle scene where he notoriously did get the bullet holes. But so you had a lot of really rough hand-to-hand combat and really brutal fighting, and it really hit home. Sort of, and it was gorgeous to watch because it was like the landscapes were amazing. Just to sort of picture, like, this is now in New York City, and picture I grew up near where these people were fighting. But so if you can talk about sort of the process of those brutal fights, but also it's revealed in the film that he read and transposed sort of how to, almost like books of etiquette. So how did you balance the two as a performer?
I mean, in terms of just like the battles and stuff, I think it's captured so well. I mean, that's obviously your expertise as well, but it's really, I feel they're very gritty, you know what I mean? I think we see a lot of battles nowadays and not all of them feel like you're really in it. And the amount of times I've watched this film already, every single time you really feel like you're there. You know, you're in these open battlefields, it's all out warfare. And so it's really interesting what Jon's done with that. And then what was the second part of your question? Sorry, it was...
Well, he read, it was the book of
Sorry.
etiquette that he transposed as part of the
It's
film.
like Pride and Prejudice
Yeah.
meets Revenant. That's
Yeah.
kind of the movie,
that's,
you know.
yeah,
And so there's two sides to the character.
so-
You got to exist in both.
Yeah, and there's the whole love story.
It's a very complex guy.
It's a
Did you,
bit-
did
yeah.
you ever, have you ever visited Mount Vernon?
No.
It's extraordinary when you realize you'll see his desk, or you'll see there's a low fence that has an apple tree trained all along it, that's still growing. That George Washington trained along that fence, and it's only this high, but the fence goes on for like 60 yards.
Wow.
It's one tree, and that was him. I mean, he did these remarkable things,
Yeah.
agricultural as well as writing down things and designing things. And I mean, all the guys from the Revolution were this. I mean, they were this. They were true Renaissance men. I mean, Thomas Jefferson's the same story. You know, they wrote books. They built homes. Thomas Jefferson's architecture is still famous. It's extraordinary who they were. I blame television for why we're not like this anymore. Because
But we love movies.
yes, we do love movies.
The big screen is awesome.
Yeah, big screen. But it is. I always think, how did these people do that? And I always think, oh yeah, television wasn't around.
yeah. Didn't have the internet.
They had a lot.
I
of
will say this
time.
for Williams and the rest of the cast. I made a very intentional choice to never enter a soundstage for the film, to do it 100% on location. I like Michael, who plays David in House of David, gave me this ring. It says, "Seek discomfort." And so the idea, I wanted us to be uncomfortable. I wanted the audience to know we were uncomfortable, and I wanted us to be out in the elements. So when you see the movie, we put William, the rest of the cast, and all of us out in it, and in the rain, in the mud, and that was very intentional. And so it did. The role did require a lot of grit, and he definitely delivered on that.
You feel it visually. It's spectacular.
As an actor as well, you feel it completely. Like when you're on set in the middle of this forest, really with explosions going off, you know, horses riding around, really so many people just battling it out while you're there trying to remember your lines. You can barely remember them really, just because you feel so into it.
Wow.
You're constantly aware of what's going on around you, and you really, I suppose, it's very far from the real thing and what happened, I suppose. Obviously we're acting, but you really feel like you're in it. And that's, I think, really important as an actor as well, and it makes it so much easier to act, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that choice was a really, really good one, and
And
it made everyone really feel like they were in it.
And then there was that duality where he does have to sort of enter society and sort of rise the ranks that way
Yes.
too.
Yeah, George was, especially with what I've read, he was always obsessed with status and bettering himself as a person. And I think throughout the film you see that really, you know, and at some point, not to give spoilers away, you know, he gets blinded by it for a little while and then gets brought back down. But I think it's, the way he navigates that really is what led him to be this great man.
He's also a really interesting guy who understood symbolism and stuff like that. I mean, if you've read some of his writings, he talks about how he needed to have an honor guard around him. And when he decided to be called Your Excellency for a while, there was a big thing, a little old further on in his career. But, you know, his honor guard had to be 6'4". All of them had to be 6'4". And there were, I think, of 6. And he said, it's just a matter of the show, the imposing sense of like, there he is, that's the guy. Mm-hmm. And he got that. And whether or not he knew it in the first place, it doesn't really matter. He figured it out.
He figured it out. And that's what you see in this film.
Yeah, it's a constant
Yeah.
devotion to figure out who am I and what am I going to become in this story of my life.
He forged himself and his
Yeah,
egos.
that's amazing. And the amazing thing when he quotes it, when he states, you know, if anybody believes this happened without the help of Providence, they're out of their minds. It's pretty extraordinary.
Definitely.
This is coming out right for the 4th of July weekend, for the 250th anniversary. Why should people go celebrate the 4th of July in a movie theater watching Young Washington?
There's nothing quite like the experience of being in a theater with an audience watching a movie. It is the highest experience in our industry, I think, and I go to Fandango, Rotten Tomatoes often. I love going to the movies. I love taking my kids to the movies, and you have this experience together that's really extraordinary and different than at home. And I love, like, my show House of David's on television. That's a whole different thing, but there's something about the movie theater. And there's also something about an audience saying the same thing together and championing the same thing together. And so I think it's appropriate on our 250th anniversary. The country is not perfect, but man, is it worth celebrating. And we can do it. So the idea, my hope, is to make a really entertaining movie. I hope I made it for my whole family, and I hope other families enjoy it as well. But my hope with the film is that people have your exact same experience. They watch the movie, their curiosity is sparked, and they go start studying the story of the American Revolution for themselves, because it's an extraordinary story. And that's my hope. And there's just, again, there's nothing like the theater. And I believe in the experience, and I love it.
I think Jon said it really well, but I think, this is a story no one really knows. I think George is probably the most famous yet unknown person there is in history. And nobody knows really what led him and what ambition, where it came from. I think this is a film where you learn all that. And so it's really entertaining, and I think people will learn a lot. And really it inspires, I think, newer generations coming up, especially me. I mean, when I read it for the first time in the script, I was like, did he really do all this at this age? And sure enough, he did. And so I think that's what people will see, the birth of the ambition and a story you haven't heard before from a man that everyone knows.
I have bemoaned lately in my life that there are so many young people who go to like the George Washington Elementary School and don't know who George Washington was. That to me is one of our ultimate disgraces of our educational system. And anything we can do to fix that, I'm glad to be a part of it. I really am. I enjoyed playing Lord Fairfax for a number of reasons, but I never really had the insight into the idea that a person who has a lot of land just really thinks about getting the piece of land next to that. That I loved that insight. I thought that was whoever wrote that line was brilliant. Maybe it's Fairfax's own writings, I don't know, but I really got a kick out of that. You want more. Great people reach for more, always. And George Washington snatched success out of the jaws of defeat so many times, but he was clearly destined for something extraordinary. And tragic, sad, tortured, but ambitious, and with the kiss of grace upon him. It's extraordinary.
Well, it's an extraordinary movie. I hope
Thank you so
everybody
much,
goes to see it. Congratulations on your excellent work. I want to remind everybody, you can watch my interview with William as a companion piece to this interview. Thank you for watching. You can find that at Fandango. And tickets for Young Washington are on sale right now at Fandango. Enjoy the movie.